the three of us are in three different countries right now. We're trying to organize our Wi-Fi and time difference, so bear with us. Dominique, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. The reason we started with this paper is that now with globalization and the job markets becoming more and more complex, we realized that there was more of a need for the students who were maybe not necessarily as well prepared as you'd think. So for instance, that we see that there's more and more of a need for soft skills. Like the World Economic Forum said that by 2025, the need for soft skills would be even greater than it is today. And even now it's quite important. So people, have to work with people from different nationalities more and more. So that's becoming more delicate, more complicated. So what we saw is that, for instance, according to the National Association of Colleges and Employers, the soft skills that are going to be the most needed in the future are, for instance, critical thinking skills, oral written communications, teamwork, information technology application, leadership skills, professionalism, career management, and global intercultural fluency. And that's maybe the last one that we tend to focus a little bit more on. And that the UNESCO also said that there was maybe less need for the GPA. Traditionally, people would look at a candidate's transcript and look at their GPA. And that's becoming a bit less. It's going to go less and less, and people will need more of these soft skills. So for instance, people need the right set of skills and competences to sustain current standards of living, support high rates of employment, and foster social cohesion in the light of tomorrow's society and world of work. So that's internationalization skills are going to become more and more important.
So when we looked at the theoretical background and did some research, we found globalization and internationalization was sort of completely different. They're related, but they're not the same. So globalization includes economic, political, and societal forces, but internationalization included global policies into academic institutions. So that was a key difference. And when we looked at intercultural fluency, this skill that we saw earlier, NACE defined it as the ability to interact respectfully with all people and understand individuals' differences. So academic institutions recognize this. As we all know, there are study abroad programs, and it's a very valuable experience. But many students cannot afford to participate in something like this. So universities are attempting to make internationalization more inclusive by offering opportunities to build these intercultural fluency skills. And there are many different things, such as the one that we incorporated into our classes, COIL, Collaborative Online International Learning. When we looked at our own countries, in the Netherlands, for example, only 22.6% of Dutch graduates had been internationally mobile. In the US, there was a study that showed that a globalized curriculum increased the probability of graduates being employed full-time by 69%. And in Thailand, when we refer to international university programs, it refers to using English as the medium of instruction. So what exactly is COIL? For those of you who have not heard of COIL, it falls under this umbrella of virtual exchange. So virtual exchange includes COIL, that collaborative online international learning, as well as telecollaboration, e-tandem, different components. The real difference between COIL and any other online learning is this idea of a shared syllabus. The emphasis is placed on using cultural differences in these two different countries or cultures to interpret content in the course. So if you look at the COIL approach, it was actually started by the State University of New York. Faculty from different countries collaborate on designing a course model and embed it in an existing course. And then students from both classes collaborate on assignments using either synchronous or asynchronous tools. Although COIL was developed more than a decade ago, it's not widely practiced, it's not institutionalized, and it's not really recognized as a common pedagogy. So there's not much investment in this tool. Why, you may ask? It's because of certain misconceptions. Faculty think that COIL replaces teaching and learning, which is not true. Faculty think that it's almost a substitute for in-person learning, which is also not true. And faculty think that you need to be a master or excel at using different online tools, which is also not true. So in the US, COIL is gaining popularity, but it's rare at my college, at Queen's College. In the Netherlands, COIL is well known in certain universities, but it's not really applied. And in Thailand, COIL is uncommon.
Yeah, so part of the objective of this project was to use the concept of a shared assignment across borders, and then through this innovative virtual exchange project called COIL, to identify specific career readiness skills.
I'm not sure if Poon can, if your Wi-Fi is good, are you available?
I'm still on my way.
Okay.
I'm actually in the car, so.
Okay, no problem. I can continue.
So I'm not sure if my Wi-Fi will actually good enough to present.
Okay, no worries. So what we did is we took students in the US from Queen's College, and we had students from Thailand who were enrolled at the Assumption University, and students from the Netherlands who were at the Hague University of Applied Sciences. And these were 2 consecutive semesters. It didn't happen simultaneously. One happened in fall 2019, and the other pair happened in spring 2020. We had 54 students at Queen's College in economics and business. 22 of them collaborated with 22 students from Thailand who were in the same discipline. And they worked together on a statistics project where they presented economic solutions to intercultural audiences. They analyzed their quantitative data on a global issue and compared it to their perceptions. The remaining 32 students at Queen's College collaborated with 19 students from Netherlands, and this was during the spring of 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. They were students of different majors. They worked in these global teams, each with a different global issue. The Queen's College students were working on their quantitative data and asked the opinions of the Dutch students. And the Dutch students had to write a journalistic article about this global issue. So they completed a pre and post questionnaire, and it was delivered at the beginning and at the end of the project. The students were asked questions about their openness, their worldview, their knowledge, their connection with personal growth. And we connected it to the 8.
You have 4 more minutes.
Okay, thank you. We connected it to their NACE skills, the 8 NACE skills that we listed earlier, and we looked at particular dimensions of the project. So we wanted to analyze this on a 5-point Likert scale along with these open-ended questions. I can talk about the US. Within the US, students showed an 85% agreement that they were better able to communicate with individuals who had different cultural backgrounds. 73.5% were more aware of different national, cultural, religious, and socioeconomic backgrounds. And then 59% were more confident about communicating with people whose first language was not the same as their own.
Yeah, for the Netherlands, we had a lot of discussions about it. What happened is that the students felt that at first it was challenging, and they realized that there were cultural differences. For instance, the American students tended to be very open, the Europeans a little bit more reserved. So sometimes there were misconceptions there. The Americans maybe thought that the Dutch students were holding back. But then they started to get used to it. And then at the end, they felt that it was extremely valuable experience, that they learned a lot. Some of the challenges were the time zones, of course, getting together. I mean, it's already challenging for students to meet expectations and to hold their appointments and so on. So sometimes there were problems there. But yeah, at the end of the day, they felt that there was improved productivity, boosted creativity, and yeah, they also were more savvy with the technology, which came in handy right at the start of the pandemic as well. And then they also found that instead of the differences, that they came to some common points, right? That they were realizing that they had the same interest in the global issues, that the pandemic, other ways that they were faced with a similar problem. So yeah, it turned out to be an extremely positive experience for them.
And in the Thailand, the students actually rated intercultural fluency as the highest rating, with the highest rating. So that was the #1 skill that they had gained. And second was oral communications. Our paper has detailed results if you're interested in the limitations, the future research, and implications for practice. I want to point out that we really believe that institutionalizing COIL is our #1 implication for practice. And in conclusion, I think Dominique can
Right. Yeah. Well, that we realized that yeah, communicating with individuals across cultures is a skill that many employers want and value. Yeah, the art of being able to speak in public, to express yourself differently, also to identify the career management skills, right? To identify, the students were able to identify their career goals more with this exercise. So yeah, the importance of intercultural communication is extremely important, and COIL is a very good way to go about it.
Thank you, everybody. If you would like to get in touch with us, here's our contact information.